Alright everyone, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be showing you guys all the basics of variables, and I'm not only going to be showing you guys Scratch, but I'm going to be explaining how these principles apply to actual coding languages like Python, Java, C, C++. So essentially, basically, what a variable is it's a jar, right? And if you picture like a mason jar, you know how you can put a label on it, right? The label is the variable's name. Like we have this jar named score, right? And you can put inside of it some random arbitrary score like a 1. And now this is a variable with holding a value of 1. For example, we go over here to my variables. I'll make a variable test, right? Now test, we set it to 0. What this is, test is the label and 0 is the value within the label. So we can put it to 2 and test equals to 2. We can put it to 1, test equals to 1. Basically, you can store a value of something like either a score in a game, or you can store how many players, you can store anything that you can think of, you can store it. And variables aren't only limited to numbers, right? So you can put hello. You can put true. You can put false. You can put gibberish. You can put anything like that. Now, operators right here, this is where it gets useful, right? You can put test variable in here. I'll rename it to test. And if test equals to 2, which is false because it's not equal to 50, it's equal to whatever this is, it'll show us false, right? But if we put this in here, it's going to show as, wait a minute. Oh, because it's not set to it yet. There. Now, once we click it, it sets test to it, right? Now, it'll show us true. We can set test to 1. It's going to show us false. Let's set it to, and this is very useful if you want to make a game because you can do a bunch of, you can do if then, or you can do statements like that. Now, that is the basics of variables. It's a jar to store values in. Okay. Now, I'm going to go show you guys an example right here of what you can do. So we have a variable named steps, right? Let me hide other variables so I can show you guys. Steps, right? Okay, so we have a variable named steps right here. It's set to 0. We can change steps by 5, but I won't do that yet. So if we show the scratch cat, if we click this, oops, if we click this, it's going to move 10 no matter what, right? It's going to move 10 no matter what. If we, sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. Now, if we click this one, since steps is equal to 0, it's not going to move anything at all, right? But if we change steps by 5, now it'll move 5 steps. If we change by 5 again, which it just adds another 5, now it'll move by 10, now it'll move by 15, and so on, so forth. The variables can be changed. They can be changed during the game too, while you're playing, but they can also just be a substitute for anything. Variables are so dynamic, and it's great. Now, right here we have show variable and hide variable. Hide variable, you see up here, it says steps 25. If you press hide variable, that goes away. If you press show variable, it shows back up, right? So there's an example of that. But now I'll show you guys an even cooler example. Right here we have, give me 1 second. Right here we have a ball. When the green flag is clicked, we see that the ball is moving 5. It's moving 5 steps. Its speed is set to 5, and it's moving speed steps every frame. But speed is set to steps, right? Or I mean steps is set to speed and speed is 5, so it's moving 5 per thing. Sorry, that was very confusing. I stumbled over my words. Now, we see the slider right here. When you first start and show a variable, it's going to show up like this. If you double click it, it's going to move to this. Then you double click it again, and it's going to turn into a slider. Now, this is what I mean by a variable can be changed mid-game and it will affect everything. So if you scroll it like this, you see how the ball gets faster. Now it's going 100 a second. Now it's going none. Now it's going 10. Now it's going. You can change how fast it's moving because of variables. And essentially, what I forgot to explain, variables are in every single coding language, whether it's Python, Java, C. variables are in all of those, and specifically, there's different types of variables. Now, Scratch, you don't have to declare it. Every variable will automatically know what type it is, right? But there is variables. There is integers, which is int, and those are numbers, like 1, 12, like all those integers. There's boolean, which is bool, and it is true or false only. There is doubles, which is like 12.3, or pi, which is 3.14159. I think I haven't really recited pi, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that should be right. And then there is strings, which is any character. So you can do numbers, you can do letters, anything like that, that's a string. Now there's also char, which is character, and that is just a single letter like A or B or C or even a number, but those are a little tricky when it comes to numbers. And what Scratch will do is when you set a score to any of those like that, it will automatically know which one it is, and you don't have to do anything, right? You can change it to anything. You can change it to bool, you can change it to true. But I'm just letting you guys know, in case you guys want to program in the future, that in other programming languages, you will have to put whatever type it is in front of the uh, declaration. Scratch, you can ignore this, right? You don't need that. You just need to know you can set it to whatever you want, okay? Now, let's get into an even cooler example. We have, for this sprite only, when you make a variable right here, you see variable name, you can either choose for all sprites, for the sprite only, or cloud variable. For all sprites, you can change it for all sprites, right? You see, you know how way back here we had steps, right? And steps is 25. You can change steps right here, but in this variable for the sprite only, you can also change steps over here. You can also change steps over here. But ball example, in the sprite ball example, we have speed, right? You can change speed here. Where is it? You could change speed here, and you see how it's getting faster. But in other ones, you can't change it. You see that? It won't change the speed because now, technically, this speed variable is for this sprite. But this sprite doesn't have a speed variable, so we'll delete it. Another way to see this is how you see over here how speed is showing, but then we move to, like, let's say basics again, speed is gone. So that is what's known as a local variable. It's only accessible within this sprite, and in other coding languages, that means it's only accessible within that function where it's declared. But for all sprites is known as a global variable. That means it can be accessed anywhere, even outside of the function it's declared in, or not declared in, but even outside of a function, which in this case would be outside of a sprite. So you can use those variables in any of these sprites, but you can only use for the sprite only within that same sprite. Now, let's get into the coolest type of variable, cloud variables. Now, what cloud variables are useful for is high scores. Everyone wants to make a high score. It helps, your game be more competitive. It helps people play longer. But most importantly, it gives you bragging rights, right? Um, so let's say we have two variables here. We have high score and score. Now, what this is going to do is your variable of score, only you can see that. No one else can see that. If someone's playing the same game at the same time on a different computer, they're not going to see your score. They're going to see their score. But high score will be the same for both of you guys. So if high score shows up as 1 here, which it does, it'll also show up as 1 there on their side too. But if high score changes to 3 while you're playing and while the other person is playing at the same time, it'll change for both of you guys at the same time. And how this works is there is a cloud, and that is where they store the cloud variables. That's where it gets its name, right? It's cloud variables. So we'll just put cloud variables. And so when you're playing a game, if there's a cloud variable, while in the middle of playing, every frame, let's say this is your computer, it is going to talk to the cloud. It's going to talk to the cloud, and the cloud is going to talk back and give you what it's holding. So that's why you can see it and everyone else can see it, because it's not stored on your computer directly. However, which uh, which is not a cloud variable, is on your computer only, so you don't have to talk to anyone about that. High score is in a cloud variable, which is in the cloud, which you're going to have to talk to in order to get. That might be a little confusing. You will understand it later. Uh, it might just take a little more researching to get the grasp of, but that is essentially the basics. You're talking to something else in order to get the information sent back to you. And how this is useful is actually high scores. So I'll show you guys an example. If we do when a green flag is clicked forever, and then we'll get an if, and we'll do a greater than symbol, and we'll put if score is greater than high score, then we set the high score to score. And this is the most basic of basic score systems, right? So I'll show you guys how this works. Now we have score, and I set it to drag so I could show you guys. When it's equal to 1, nothing changes. But as we go up, high score changes, but when we go down, high score doesn't change, right? Now, here's the coolest thing. I'm going to save the game, and this is why cloud variables are so cool. Now, I'll put a set score to 0 in green flag, and I'll refresh the page. Oh, let me save. I'll refresh the page, click the green flag. High score stays, but score doesn't. And it'll be like that unless you put set score to 0. Now, that is the basic principles of variables. Essentially, they are jars you can put values in, and you can label them to help you keep track of what you're putting. Like in Five Nights at Freddy's, uh, in one of my previous tutorials, I had a variable called night. That was the label was night, and the value was whatever night I put in, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So, variables are very important when it comes to programming, not only in Scratch, but in any language. So the quicker you can master variables, the quicker you can master programming and making games on Scratch. Now, if you guys have any questions, leave a comment. I will reply. If you have any game requests, I can show you, like Five Nights at Freddy's, which I have a previous tutorial, and I'm working on a newer one. Sorry about the previous tutorial crashing. I had a lot of interruptions, so I never got around to it. Um, any games you guys want to suggest, I will be happy to show you guys how to make them. So that's all for now. Thank you guys, and have a good day.